so
Or like what you're
free to do it with us. Okay. Okay, Raul. So the first thing that you always do in yoga class, so the first thing you need to know about yoga is how to do a sun salutation.
Okay.
Okay, so we're in prayer position, hands over the heart. There's a lot of ways that they call this position. But so usually start like this, and you want to inhale and lift your arms up over your head. Okay, so you're stretching up towards the sky, getting a nice stretch in your spine, and then you're going to lean forward and dive down towards your toes. Not so good. Just let yourself fall over and hang for a minute. Now you're going to take your hands and place them on your shins, and you're going to straighten your back and look up and inhale, and then you're going to reach back down, bend your knees and touch the floor, and then you're going to step back with both feet, and now we're in plank position. So this is like the top of a push-up position. This is a really good position to try to hold if you want to work your abs. So you can drop your knees if this is a little hard for you. So it just depends on, this is why we say yoga meets you where you are. For every single pose you do in yoga, there's a way that you can do it that doesn't hurt certain parts of your body or challenges other parts of your body. It gives you what you need. So at this point, you're either going to be up like this or down on your knees.
Okay.
Either way, you're going to lower yourself. So we're going to go down like we're doing a push-up. And you're going to stop just a couple inches above the ground. And then you're going to raise your upper body up towards the sky. Now, if you stay up on your tops of your feet in the back, that's called upward facing dog. If you let your knees drop to the ground, that's called cobra pose.
Okay.
Most of the time they'll call it upward facing dog in yoga class, even though most people have their knees down on the ground and they're actually doing cobra. So from here then, tilt your head down and go ahead and look down between your hands, and you're going to start raising your butt up, and then you're going to get your toes underneath you, and you're going to lift up on your feet, and there you're in downward facing dog.
Yes.
The most popular yoga pose ever. Some people, they actually have competitions for how long people can hold this pose. It's supposed to do so many things that are good for you, for your circulation, for everything. So anyway, then from here, we're going to step our feet up towards our hands one at a time. 1,
Oh, that's
2.
good.
The more you do it, the easier it gets, okay? And then from here, we're going to rise up and inhale all the way up. Put the hands together over your head. And at this point, if you want to, you can squeeze your butt cheeks and lean back a little bit. Get a little arch in your back, a little back bend, and then lower your hands into prayer position. And there you go. We've done our sun salutation.
That feels good.
Since the sun is setting, we're actually like saying goodbye to the sun. Right?
Okay.
Hasta
la guapa. Oh, it's over there.
Hasta la vista, sun. So anyway, we're in this beautiful location, and so this is what you do. You want to do a sun salutation. You want to appreciate the nature all around, including the sun.
And how long you been doing yoga?
I've been doing yoga for well over 15 years. I just got certified as a teacher about 3.5 years ago in Hawaii. So yeah, I really love yoga. It really helped me when I was in law school. I had a lot of stress, and for the first year of law school, I wasn't doing the yoga. I was just working, and using my mind. And then one day I stopped and I did the yoga, and I cried. And I was like, why am I crying? I'm not thinking of anything sad. But it was this release of tension and stress in my body that it was just amazing. And after that, I was really hooked, and I had to do it all the time because it really does relieve stress, help keep your body in proper alignment. And it's helped me overcome injuries too. I actually herniated a disc in my back. Another period of time when I went 6 months without doing yoga, I ended up in a position to where I herniated a disc in my back, and I slowly was able to build myself back to good health by doing the yoga. So it really does help you. Don't be like me. Be the kind of person who does the yoga and doesn't get injured, doesn't get all stressed out. Keep yourself healthy by doing it.
Well, I tried. I've been in classes, but some of the teachers put some real tough things like stand on their heads.
I know. Well, then
It was
versions
like, I'm just beginning. Give me a little break.
those are supposed to be advanced poses, but people think that they're fun, and a lot of kids like to stand on their heads and stuff. So a lot of teachers will try to just throw it in right away. But I personally, I don't like to do so many inversions. I like to stick to doing things on the ground. So let's go ahead and sit down on our mats and let's talk about some really nice poses that people can do to help with lower back pain.
So explain to our viewers why you gotta sit this way.
Okay, this is what they call easy pose. And it's supposed to be like, I guess, an easy way for people to sit. But of course, India is where yoga comes from. And people sit on the floor in India a lot. So this is easy for them. But for us that are used to sitting in chairs all the time, it might not be the easiest pose. But anyway, it is called easy pose. You don't have to sit like this, but yes, this is what we're working towards. So if you start off doing yoga and your feet are out here or wherever they are, so we say yoga meets you where you are. You start wherever you are, and gradually you'll get to where you can bring your feet together, and then eventually you'll bring one foot up here.
I'm not quite there yet.
This is called half lotus, and then you'll bring the other one up, and that's called full lotus, and then you'll lift yourself up off the ground. And do all kinds of fun stuff.
Don't expect me to do that, because
you don't have to do that. And then you'll levitate. That's the real. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's
just
what's
float around
good, though.
Yeah, that would be great. But I unfortunately don't know how to levitate yet. I'm working on it. Okay. But let's talk about the lower back issues.
Okay.
A lot of people have lower back pain. So here's a few things that you can do if you have lower back issues. First of all, your hips are going to be tight. So this kind of exercises where you're actually sitting in an easy pose type thing. Anything that opens up the hips is going to be helpful.
Okay.
So if you can put your feet together, let me scooch over and give you some room. Put your feet together, and then you want to try to get your knees down. And it's really helpful to put your hands behind your back, to straighten your spine in this position. And you can really feel this opening here.
Yes.
You feel that? Okay, so there's one good hip opener that I really like. And then another one, straighten your legs out. And let's take this knee and bend it over to the side, come like this. And you're gonna let it fall in.
Okay.
As much as you can. I'm pretty limber like this. I can go straight over.
I used to be pretty limber when I played professional soccer.
We're gonna get you there
But
again.
it's been a while, so.
Okay, and then you take your foot and you roll it out.
Okay.
The outside.
And this is to stretch
This
what?
is to open the hip joint. So there's muscles all around there that are all going to get stretched, and the hip joint is going to open. And this releases a lot of tension that comes from the buttocks and the hamstrings that are going to end up pulling on the spine and end up causing lower back pain. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of lower back pain is caused from hamstring tightness. So that brings us to the next thing that you can obviously do, which is stretching the hamstrings. You can reach forward and stretch the hamstrings, but what I really like to do, which is, I think, especially if you have back problems, the best way to stretch your back is to lay back.
Okay.
So instead of reaching forward and arching your back, you have your back supported on the ground, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to lift this knee, and you're going to grab a hold of your big toe, and then you're going to try to straighten your leg.
Okay.
So if you can, you're getting a nice hamstring stretch. If you can't, we have these wonderful things in yoga called straps. And you're going to take that, and you're going to put it around your foot. There you go. And then you're going to stretch your hamstring. So this way, then you can go this way with it.
I can really feel it, people, right here. It feels right here.
So you're stretching your hamstring. Okay, and so we can release that. Bring your knee back.
These are really helpful.
And then, of course, you want to do the other side. I don't know if we want to take the time to do all of this right now, but I'm just kind of giving you the idea. And then end up with another stretch here.
So how important are to make sure you do this correct so you wouldn't hurt yourself?
It's always important that you use good form, but something else, like I said, if you're not used to doing it, sometimes you're not going to look perfect. You're not going to look like the person who's modeling the picture in the magazine or in the yoga book. You're going to look like your version of it at the level that you're at. So your knee might be more bent than theirs. It might be cocked out to the side a little bit. That's okay. But as long as you keep the basic principles in mind, where you're laying down on the ground and you're keeping everything in alignment, you got some symmetry going, and then you're trying to keep things as straight as you can. You just do your best to try to keep things as straight as you can. You know, it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay.
Okay.
So there's one thing, which I think is really good, stretching the hamstrings where the spine is supported by the ground.
Okay.
So the spine is not being curved over where you could pop a disc if you have, you know, problems with your spine with herniating discs, which that actually happened to me. So for a while I had to just stretch my hamstrings that way, laying on the ground. So that's a really good one. And as long as we're down on the ground doing that, let's do my very favorite back stretch, okay?
Okay.
So let's lay back, okay? And then we're gonna bend one knee, grab a hold of it, okay? And take your left hand on the knee and put your right hand on the ground. And then you're going to let it fall over to the left while you look over to the right.
And, oh, I was supposed to go to the right.
No, your knee's going to the left. Your head goes to the right.
Okay.
There you go.
And this you can really feel right on your buttocks right here.
That's right. And if your back is tight, you'll feel it in your lower back.
Okay.
So let's go back up to the top and give a little hug to your chest with your knee, and then release it. And then we can do the other side.
I think our crew is laughing about it. It's all right, guys.
I think you're doing fabulous.
I'll get into there later. This is only the first time, so.
Right. Okay, so now bring it back to center, squeeze it to the chest, and release it. So that's really good to release the tension in your lower back. Anytime that you have lower back issues, twisting, if it's done properly, can really help put things back into alignment. And that, when I say done properly, I mean with no weight. No, if you know those machines that they have at the gym where you put weight and you twist yourself, that's one of the main ways that people end up injuring their backs. That's a very difficult thing to do. And another really big way that people end up injuring their backs is when they're lifting something heavy, and instead of just lifting it up, down, they're going to the side, and they do this twisting motion while they're carrying something heavy. So when you're doing your twisting, you don't want to have anything heavy, you don't want to use weights, you just want to use your own body and keep everything in alignment. So I'll show you a couple more twisting moves.
Okay.
As long as we're already in this position, you can just take left hand to the right knee, and then right hand behind the back, and then look over as far as you can behind yourself.
Oh, I can see downtown. It looks beautiful.
I know. This is a really nice place to do this stretch. Look all around. Okay, and then we're going to circle around to the other side. Left hand to the right knee, left hand behind the back. Keep your back up as straight as you can, and look around to your left. Do you feel that all the way down your spine?
Yes.
I do. That's a really nice one. See, I mean, there's lots of variations on that stretch. You can do it with this leg out and this leg bent, where you're going to grab a hold of this leg and you're going to twist around.
I think this is how I have done it before.
Yes. And so, you know, if you want to really get crazy about it, people do all kinds of things, like wrap their arm around this way.
Yeah, but that's normally for people
that
have done it for a while.
Right.
So, but for beginners like
you can
me,
put your arm over.
And just push.
Anything that you can do to give yourself a little extra squeeze is good. And then let's switch legs, and let's switch our arm position. Go around to the other side, wherever you are. If you're here, or if you're reaching around, going for a wrap, which I can't quite reach right now. That, you know, yoga meets you where you are.
I'm not even gonna try to do that.
And then gently release. So we've done some nice twists for the lower back. We've done the hamstring stretch for the lower back. We've learned the sun salutation. We did some hip openers. So I think that's a pretty good start.
I think so.
And also something to remember is in the sun salutation, how fast or how slow you do your sun salutation, you can get more of a workout or less of a workout depending on what you need. So a lot of women complain about having jiggly stuff down here on the arms. when you're in that plank position and then you lower yourself down, and when you're in sun salutation and you're about to come up into upward facing dog, if you do that really slow, you'll feel that muscle burn. And I swear to you, after a week or two, this will be solid as a rock. Amazing. It's amazing.
Nice. Sweet.
Yeah, so, and it really does work out the shoulders too. The deltoids, everybody wants a little bit of definition right there. So, men too can enjoy that. And there's a lot of really fun things to do in yoga that men, I'm thinking of men because they have naturally stronger upper bodies than women do. That you might not think yoga is a thing for men, but there's a lot of poses that men can pull off a lot easier than we can that requires a lot of upper body strength. So, I encourage everyone to definitely check it out. There's something for everybody.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Those are some great tips for our viewers.
And
especially those that want to get into doing yoga,
right,
like myself, because I know it does help for a lot of the problems.
Right.
It helps you with your immune system. It helps with everything.
That's right, it does.
So
that's great that you knew that. I love that.
I've been reading on it. I couldn't, I had to learn a little bit, because if we were going to do this and put out something for our viewers, we need to know what we're talking about.
That's right.
We can't just expect our viewers to do it with us, and then they might get hurt, and
Right.
we don't want that.
Right.
So.
No, that's good. And as long as we're talking about people who might want to start yoga for the first time, let's go over the equipment a little bit.
Okay.
So if you want to do yoga and you've never done it before, you can just get a mat. They're very easy to find. They have them at the bookstore now. They have them at Whole Foods. They have them, of course, in yoga studios. So they're pretty easy to find these days. You can order them online, Amazon.com. There's a whole bunch of different places where you can get yoga mats. And so I put 2 down for each of us.
Okay.
And that's a good idea if you're going to be doing it outside or on a hard surface, or if you have knee problems or something and you want a little extra cushion, you can use 2 mats. And they also make these things, which I got this at a yoga conference. These little extra cushion things that you can get. You might be able to find these at a yoga studio or online. And these little things are kind of nice because when you're going to do a position where you're going to be on your knees, for instance, you might be doing something like, say, camel pose. You're like this. If you have knee problems, you might be able to do this pose just fine, but your knee is hurting. But if you had a nice cushion like this, you could do more poses. So it might be a good thing to invest in a little something like this.
Now, I know that you can also do that position with something in the middle of your legs, so it will hold if you can bend completely over, correct?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because here's what
You
we do.
brought a couple blocks so that we can show.
My blocks have been attacked by my cats, so
it's okay.
they have scratch marks and bite marks in them. I actually think that if you're buying blocks, and if I were doing it again, I would get the cork ones or wood, something natural. This kind of stuff, I don't know if this is recyclable or not. And once it starts getting torn up, it looks really bad. So at least the cork and the wood, it looks a little rugged and looks more natural if it starts getting torn up. So I would recommend that.
I knew people that they cover this. They buy them and then they put like a cover. They made like
that's
a
a
cover.
good idea.
So it.
That's a really good idea. So anyway, you can put 1 block or 2, whatever you need. If you're going to do a position like this, you can set the block up tall. Sit down on it. So say for instance we're going to do a hero's pose. Let me demonstrate hero's pose for you real quick. This is a very advanced pose, okay? That takes a long time before you're limber enough to pull this one off.
True.
So,
True, because I tried it in class. And
when you're first starting out, like take my boyfriend Brian for instance, his ankles are not even flexible enough for him to even sit down like this.
Brian,
He's not.
shame on you.
He can't help it, it's okay. So for Brian, he's going to want...
sexual position. Brian.
See what our crew thinks about our positions.
Goes right
into sex.
But you know what? Tantric yoga is anything like that that makes more people interested in yoga. The sexual aspect of it, I'm all for, because hey, it is a sexy thing. People have nice bodies doing yoga, getting into cool poses. Okay, so anyway, if your ankle's not ready to do this yet, you can use blocks. So you can either take this big thick block, sit on it like that. You can turn it Either way, whichever is more comfortable. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever.
I use two.
You can use 2 blocks.
And you know, this really helps to maintain your back straight.
Yes, keep it straight.
Because that gives you the extra.
It does. I feel like, even though I'm limber enough to do it when I'm sitting on the blocks, I feel a little extra support in my posture.
Right.
So it is a really good thing. And if I was feeling tired, or perhaps it was my lady time of the month or something like that, and I wanted to do restorative poses that are going to help me feel better when I'm not quite feeling so good, this is a good thing to do. Instead of pushing yourself and trying to do the hard pose, go ahead and use the blocks. Hold yourself up, get to the good position, and just relax and enjoy the feeling of the good posture. I think does so much for your body.
And a lot of these positions help a lot. Like, I suffer from neuropathy. A lot of these positions help you with the flowing of your blood in your veins, and it helps
Right.
you.
Oh, it definitely calms the nervous system too. Definitely would help with neuropathy. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I have not heard an ailment yet that yoga doesn't benefit in some way. So, I mean, I definitely think it's for everybody. So anyway, the yoga mat, the blocks, and the strap
And
are things that I think that most everybody's going to need as a beginner, especially because, like we demonstrated, your hamstrings might not be quite flexible enough for you when you're in yoga class, or you're doing yoga with your DVD at home, for you to take your toe and go like that with
just
it.
stretch it.
So you might not be ready to do that yet. So you take the strap
The strap.
and you use that instead. And you modify every single pose where they say reach over and grab your
But
big toe.
now I'm too high.
Yeah, no, we're too high. So you
we'll
can
move
modify
the
every, instead of doing this pose,
Uh-huh.
you can do this pose.
With both.
You can do both. You can be here, wherever you need to be to get what you need and not hurt yourself.
And each time you try to do a little bit farther
A
down.
little bit more. But you know, a good tip, when you're stretching your hamstrings and you don't have anything supporting your spine, especially you're not laying on the ground with your feet up in the air like I showed you earlier, your spine is very vulnerable. So instead of arching over and really pushing your spine, you can almost feel your vertebrae popping out your back there. You want to try to keep your back straight and then go forward. It's like you're leaning forward with the top of your chest
I
towards
think
your feet.
I think for us that we're always like myself, I play goalie and I was always bending over like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit harder to get
straighten
our
up.
posture and straighten up because
Right.
I was so used to being like this in the goal for so many years. And even when I sit down, I feel like I'm lounging
Okay.
like this. So
Well, then let's talk about doing some back bending exercises, because there's a lot of people that have that situation, and I know, like, when I'm on the computer all day long, I feel like that too. I feel like, gosh, I've been kind of arching over all day long. I need my spine to go the other way, and you really do. When your spine has been going one way, like if you're doing a lot of stretching forward like this, stretching your hamstrings, you really need your spine to go back the other direction, and that's how you keep things nice and straight, is that you make sure that you have counter motions for every motion that you have. So if you're feeling kind of hunched over, you want to get that open feel and stretch your spine back. Let's talk about some nice exercises for that. So let's swing around this way and go down on our stomach. Now this is when you're down just like this on your elbows. Okay, so this is a nice little pose that's very easy for most people to do. So you're not trying to push yourself all the way up. You're just like this. And it's, I guess you would call this a modified cobra, because your knees and everything are down on the ground and your feet are on the top of your feet. But you can put your toes on the ground and you can kind of push back with your heels, and you can get a little stretch all the way through your hamstrings and your calves. So that's a nice little stretch to do. And then when you're ready to take it a little bit further, you want to go down and put your hands next to your chest, and then go ahead and start rising up a little bit. So you can come up just a little bit, and by this point you want to point your toes. And so you want to feel a nice long even arch through your whole body.
and you can really feel it on your back.
You can, but try not to let your shoulders rise up. They're going to want to rise up. Try to pull them down.
Okay.
And then you're going to try to push up a little higher and higher and higher. All the time, keeping that even arch through your back looking up to the sky as much as you can. And then you want to release and let yourself recuperate from that, and then maybe try it again.
And how many of this do you do, or they're called a set?
Well, it's not like weightlifting or anything. Let's go back down on our elbows so we can talk a little easier. It's not like weightlifting where you're going to do like a set of 15 or anything like that. Yoga is more about slow, fluid movements, holding poses and things like that. But I think that there are certain movements where you really benefit by doing them more than once. Because the first time you do it, you're going to be a little stiff. You're not going to be quite ready for it. Your body's going to try to resist you a little bit. And then if you take a moment and then do it again, your body's going to go a little bit further than it went before. So that's why, for instance, the sun salutation, the thing that we did in the beginning, that is also done throughout a lot of yoga practices, and they call them vinyasas when they put it in the middle of the yoga practice. So throughout a yoga practice, for instance, Ashtanga yoga, which is a certain type of yoga that was developed in India, where there are certain set poses that you do in a certain order. It's the kind of yoga that Sting does. That's what everybody knows about it. Very athletic. You do about 500 of those vinyasas in the 90 minutes that you're doing the...
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if you think about that, every time that you come down here like this, you're down in the plank position, you come down like this, and you come up like that. If you do that 500 times in 90 minutes, you've done 500 push-ups, you know. There's not a whole lot of exercises where you're going to do something that many times, but you're not sitting here doing 500 in a row.
You're actually lifting your whole body.
Right,
and
but you have a break in between.
And then you...
Because when there's vinyasa type yoga, and they say, okay, you do a pose, and then they say take your vinyasa, you're going to do essentially what we just did in the sun salutation. So your vinyasa, you're going to stand in front of your mat, reach up, come down, go down into plank position, go down in your chaturanga, and then go into upward dog, and then back into downward facing dog, and then step forward, and you'll be standing again. So that's considered a sun salutation, but it's also called a vinyasa. So you'll do that in between, poses. So there will be a lot of repetition, but you don't do them in a row, usually. Okay. Sometimes you'll do them in a row in the beginning of a yoga session if you want to do it just to warm the body up, but you don't do it like you want to do a bunch of upward dogs like push-ups. But like I said, if you want to do 2 or 3 of them just to get your spine loosened up, like you've been sitting at the computer all day, and before you move on and do whatever you need to do, because we're all busy, we don't have a lot of time, just take a moment to drop down to the ground and do a couple upward dogs. Rest and then do it again, and then rest and then do it again, and then you can move on with your day. But at least give your spine the opportunity to bend in the contrary direction to where it's been bending all day long.
I see. That's a great insight.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us don't think that we gotta get our body back to the normal position. And I think as you let the years pass, then you start getting into those fetal positions.
Exactly.
And that's why you see a lot of the older people in fetal positions walking like that, and now our youth, if they don't get with it.
That is so true, Raul. And you grab